Everybody, welcome back to the Money Is Show. And today I got a special guest on the show for you. Someone that I truly enjoy hanging out with because he believes in the same concepts that I believe in. And even when you get into business and there's all these, what I call business values that people have, which I truly support, there's also this thing that I even love more, which is more or less what I refer to as human core values, as just your being as a human that we represent. And today on the show, we're gonna bring a special guest named Ian Wendt, all the way from Idaho. Drove down here today to hang out with us, to spend some time with us. And we're gonna dive into his Official Patriot Gear. He's the founder and CEO of Official Patriot Gear. And he's pushing the brand and the idea, the theology, the philosophy of patriotism. But maybe not from the angle that you're even thinking about when you think about patriotism, but maybe it is. But we're going to find out today of how he's attacking it and driving home this message to the America that we stand so divided right now. How do we find the common ground to come back to and stand on together to push this country forward so it doesn't fall to the side like so many other countries do along the way. He's also a sales and marketing expert, worked his way all the way through sales and marketing to train hundreds and hundreds of sales and marketing people. And lastly, but the most important, he's a husband to his wife, Maddie, and a father to a daughter and a son, Miles and Sloan. On that note, Ian, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
I know this the podcast, kind of being on podcast is more of a newer thing for you per se.
Yeah.
Meaning you're getting on some huge podcasts.
Yeah.
But it's not something that you went out and tried to sought to be on or anything, but you're kind of making the rounds in the podcast world right now.
Yeah, no, you guys keep asking me.
Yeah.
Keep reaching out.
Podcasters are asking you.
Yeah, sure, I'll come on. Awesome.
To be on it. And I know you've been on some big ones, man. My buddy Jimmy Rex podcast.
Jimmy's a good friend. He's a good dude, man.
Forselli.
Yep.
Been on his podcast.
Yep.
There's some other big ones out there, and none bigger than, of course, the Money Is podcast, which you're on right now.
None bigger.
And have you been on Jeremiah's?
Yeah.
The Bull?
Yeah.
He's a
I
good
actually
guy.
was his. I think I was his first guest.
First guest there?
Yeah, because he just launched that.
Yeah, I was his 12th.
There you go. I'm pretty sure I was his first.
His first,
yeah.
And so love making the rounds in the podcast world, dude. So let's break this down, man.
Sure.
First, I mean, you have this brand, which is this unique brand and concept philosophy of Patriot, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of cool stuff behind it that's going on that you're doing that I really want to talk about, because you are doing it kind of from a different maybe angle than other people that we know that are out there kind of doing it.
Yeah.
Before we get into how this whole thing came about, your brand you have right now, I want to talk about where did it come from? Like how was it birthed? Is it just you're a red-blooded American and it just came out? But how did it come about?
So I mean, I've always been the very pro-America guy, you know. It just wasn't something that was like an everyday thing. But 4th of July, I was decked out from head to toe, red, white, and blue, right? Everybody knew that. And I've also been somewhat of a little bit of like a, whatever you want to call it, tinfoil hatter, closet tinfoil hatter, right? And so I always just kind of like dove into different things like that. But anyway, towards the end of 2019, when all the craziness really started happening with like riots and things like that, I think something flipped in me being a father, and it wasn't so much anymore about me, but more about my kids. Mm-hmm. And I just felt more compelled, honestly kind of obligated, to speak up about what I knew to be true about what was really going on. And the fact is, you know, back then, all those things that were happening, I still to this day believe that they were very, in many ways, manufactured to create this divide that started back then and has continued up until now. But there's a lot more to that. And so anyway, I started speaking up about that, and I started raising a warning voice, and I started trying to get people to realize what was really going on and everything. And I had built a pretty decent following prior to that, in sales and marketing, and I was doing pretty well. And when I started doing this, I was like, dude, I'm about to burn everything to the ground. Like,
yeah.
And it sucked, but I was like, I literally can't stay silent anymore. And so I started speaking up about stuff.
And when you say you started speaking up, are you referring to like on social media, Instagram?
Yeah, sorry, on Instagram. So Instagram was my main platform, still to this day is. And
what is, why you hit it, what's your handle if they want to follow you?
It's iWenster. So it's IWENDTSTER. And as you have figured out, you have to type in the entire thing, or I will not come up. So if you get iWenster 2, that's just my backup account in case I get deleted.
Okay, yeah. We'll dive into why you have to do that
later. Yeah.
And we'll put it in the notes as well. But if you guys want to follow him, it's a great follow at his Instagram. So you start speaking out on Instagram, and by speaking out, as you first get into it, here's what I want to understand, like the journey, right? Like
Sure.
here you are in this sales and marketing. You've traveled the freaking America, crisscrossed it, doing sales trainings for corporations and 600 staff kind of underneath that you trained and so forth. But all of a sudden you go from this sales and marketing kind of expert and trainer into one day you're like, okay, man, you're seeing everything. I remember it, right? Like it is vivid in my brain. 2019, 2020, early 2020, all that stuff that's going on, and you're seeing it, you're watching it, and finally one day you're like, okay, I'm gonna go say something. Obviously, it was brewing for a while, probably, right?
It was.
And
I was fighting the urge to do it for a long time.
And the urge was there, but the American patriotic was always inside of you. That was always there, right?
Yeah.
This wasn't something that you became patriotic at that time. You were always patriotic, but now there's just like this thing that kept poking you, basically saying, go say something.
Yeah, I mean,
and how did you make that first post though? Like, what was it? Do you remember what was it about?
I remember it to this day. So it was literally about the riots, and it was all about how, they wanted the media and everybody. They wanted you to think that it was black versus white, and that it was all about race war. But in reality, what it really was just manufacturing a divide so that so that we're easier to control. And that's what I did the first video on. I literally just got on my phone and I said, this is what's really happening. Bricks are being laid at town halls and they're just waiting for someone to come and pick it up.
Pallets were being dropped off.
Literally pallets of bricks.
Think about that.
That's not a fake thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah, pallets were being dropped off.
Yeah, by the truckloads.
That had been put together.
Yeah.
Right?
And the other thing too is, this was part of the video that I actually said, because so I was also, we didn't talk about this, but I was also in event planning. When I was in college, I planned large scale like dance party events with college kids, like 3,000, 4,000 people.
Is that
plus.
how you know Dan?
That's how I know Dan.
And
Marcus Wing and all those guys.
Yeah. Now it makes sense.
So I rolled with those guys for a long time. So anyway, so I know what it takes to put on an event, right?
Yeah.
Okay. These attacks, these riots, they were happening simultaneously in 6 or 7 different cities at the exact same time on huge scales. Do you know what it takes to plan something like that? Like it just doesn't just happen. And so I just started speaking out about that, and I started raising a warning voice of, hey, the media is the real enemy. Like, they are not telling you the truth, and you need to realize that all of this is meant to make you think that you hate your neighbor, when in reality you don't.
Now, this is a tough subject, because when you make that post, right? I'm putting myself back in 2019 in your shoes here for a second, and if you think about this, at that moment, all your followers are following because you're dropping knowledge on understanding sales process, understanding follow-up, understanding all that type of stuff. And your followers are kind of waiting for the next post that you release on marketing, and then like, all of a sudden it's like, okay, so this is where you're at, right? You're afraid, like, oh dude, I'm gonna lose whatever, let's just say half of my followership right now, but you make the post, and then the thing is, you make a post that it can be portrayed legitimately. It's a fine line, because it can be portrayed, if you're not careful, that you were against BLM and against blacks, and you were against what was being said, because you were kind of going against what in theory, what was going on in the big picture of the divide of black and white. So it was a super risky move. Yeah, super risky move.
And I was super careful about the way that I went about it, and I didn't make it about, I'm against the idea of Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. It was the organization, and it was the chaos, and it was the riots, and it was the destruction that I was against. And that was not something that was meant to make any life matter. That was literally the opposite, but it was being used to make it seem like that was just this outrage from these people that, whatever. So,
but you were really attacking not the concept of BLM by no means.
No.
What you were attacking or coming out about, this is why you had to be dead on in your message.
The manipulation.
Was the manipulation that was being driven by the media, or the media was the platform, the voices that were driving this kind of manipulation that was going on. In your viewpoint, what was the manipulation the media was doing?
It was the fact that no matter what, whenever you turned on the news and it was showing these riots and it was showing these events, the message was, we need to be better. We are in a place where we hate each other. We're fighting. Whites hate blacks. Blacks hate whites. It was just this constant like negativity that was just being slammed into everybody's minds, and it was total propaganda. And so this is what I realized, though. This is why this whole thing took off. When I made that post, when I made that video, I got the exact opposite of a reaction that I thought I was going to get. And instead, my following skyrocketed. It went from like 30-something thousand to like 50-something thousand in 2 days. And all of a sudden, I started to realize far more people had no idea what was going on than I even imagined. I mean, people literally just, the news was the news. If you want to know what's going on, you turn on CNN, right? That's just how it was. That's how it was for so many people. And you think about 2 years ago, it was literally the only way people got the information, the news they needed. And now you look at today and how many people are all of a sudden realizing, wait a second, this isn't always the truth. This isn't always what's really going on, right? They're actually starting to realize that there's a lot of propaganda and there's a lot of, inconsistencies. So I really was like one of the first people that at this time started raising that warning voice and trying to get people to become aware of. And it worked. Like more people, I got hundreds and hundreds of DMs of people saying, thank you so much for saying this. Thank you so much for telling us this. I had no idea. And it wasn't just one side or the other. It was people from every side. It was people from every race. It was all of my followers saying, dude, I had no idea about any of this stuff, right?
Let me ask you this. When you go and make this post, that obviously could affect you legitimately financially, very good chance it was going to, and most probably brand advisors would have said, hey, this is going to be a horrible move for you.
They did.
Yeah, from a business standpoint, this is not going to go good for you.
Yeah.
But talk to me about your wife for a second. Did you go to her? I know you guys are like, you guys are not just husband and wife partners, but you're also like business partners, and you guys are in the depths of all this together, really.
Yeah.
But did you go to her and say, hey, I want to go do this. I'm going to go make this post. Did she know you're about to go do it? Or is it more like you just like, I got to go do it?
No, she knew what was going on because, so prior to that post, I told you about like the highlight movies that I was creating where I was talking about different things that are happening with the government or in the past or whatever. She knew that I was kind of on that path already, and she was supportive. And she was actually surprised just like I was at the response. But no, like, it wasn't really, she was supportive throughout the whole thing. And even when I made it, I think at first she was like, but then it just kept on going, and she supported me all the way through. But you talk about how it was a risky thing to do with a marketing standpoint, right? I was warned multiple times by people that I was working with. I had a lot of backlash for it, to be honest, but
well, you come from that background in general.
Yeah.
Therefore, a lot of your friends, acquaintances, business associates are in the branding, marketing game. So I'm sure you reached out to a handful of them, and it was just in general sense. That's just on a brand move. Like in general, like blanket advice, everybody would be against it without diving in.
This is not a good idea. Yeah. But no, it was the exact opposite, and it's just, I felt, like I said, I felt obligated. It was like I felt called to do this. I felt called to actually speak up.
Talk about that side of it, because I always say that in entrepreneurship and business, I think that there are three kind of levels to it. I think there are levels of entrepreneurship that you have to do. I mean, you're doing something because you have to go do this. There's levels of I want to go do this. And then there's the coolest, highest level where you feel the words that you're using. I sometimes call it, you feel like this is my calling in life. This was like called to go do, or I was compelled to go do this thing. This thing that you're on now, the official Patriot gear, I'm going to put the words in your mouth, you tell me, but it seems like this is where you feel like you were called to go do, like a purpose.
No question. Like, and it's weird. I've talked to different people. I talked to Andy about this. It's like I look back and I can see how everything that I did for 12 years of sales and marketing, it all led up to making it so that I was prepared to accept that calling and be able to actually run with a brand and be able to walk away from a really comfortable and frankly successful career. And so, I felt called. And as I started to embrace that, the following grew. But I realized that it wasn't, I wanted to do something good with it. I didn't want to just keep on making videos and like, you know, being the Instagram influencer or whatever. Like I wanted to actually try to make a difference now. I had millions of people that were seeing my content every single week. I mean, we were literally hitting 8-9 million impressions a week on my account. And so it was just an insane following. And this was during the time where those businesses were really struggling during the lockdowns and things, right? And so one thing really happened that kind of changed everything and kind of defined what this brand is now.
Okay.
And I got a video of a business owner from Orem, and he owned a cafe, and I'd been to the cafe a couple times, and every single time I'd ever been to that cafe, not only was the food amazing, but the atmosphere was just incredible, and he was always there cooking and meeting the people, and just, you could tell that it was his life. It was just, it was everything for him, right? And I get this video sent to me one day, because it went viral, and it was him crying and falling to his knees and saying, "Help me. I need help. I'm gonna lose everything. COVID's bringing me to my knees. You know, there's nothing I can do. I'm gonna lose everything." And I just said, okay, you know what? Like, let's see what we can do. So I shared that video, and I basically mobilized the community that I had built.
Was this like the first time you kind of like,
yeah, this
was
is the
mobilized?
this is the first time that I ever like really tried to like mobilize the tribe.
let's see if they'll do something?
Yeah. And I said, guys, everyone that's in Utah, this guy needs help. Flood his doors. Flood his doors for the next week. And that's all I really said at first, right? But then all of a sudden all my followers were like, well, I don't live in Utah, but can I buy a gift card? Or can I send him money? Or can I do this? And it was crazy, but we literally flooded his doors for an entire week. He couldn't keep up. It got to the point where they had so much business that they actually had to give business away. So they started giving food to the police department and to the fire department and to schools. And so we were helping in more ways than one, right? And then on top of that, we raised like tens of thousands of dollars for him through people that were all over the country who didn't even know who this guy was. And that was kind of the first time where I realized, okay, I have something here that this is my responsibility now, right? This is a community that we've been able to build, and let's do good with it. And so we saved a couple more businesses in that exact same manner. And then we started trying to help families that were in the service. We provided a bunch of Thanksgiving dinners for people, and I tried to do a lot of good. And I know this sounds super cliche, but one of the biggest beliefs that I hold is that the more you give, the more you receive. And the more you receive, the more you have to give, and you must give. And it's okay to know that as you give, you will receive. That's how it works. That's abundance. And this was the definition of it. Because as that happened, I also saw a gap, which was, that whole patriotic idea. Like, I saw people start to drag the word patriot through the mud, saying it means one thing, it means the other. Like, you have to be this Trumper, you have to be this kind of person, you're a racist or white or whatever. The word patriot had always been such a like noble and good thing for me and my family and my friends and everybody that like, it was just always such a good thing. And it wasn't any one person's label. It was like, it's just good. And so to see that, I was like, this is ridiculous. And so I had this idea one day, and we created this t-shirt. It was a green t-shirt, and it said Patriot, just like that. Across the chest, yep. And it had a flag on the arm, and I was like, man, it'd be really cool if we could get like 50 people to buy this, right? And we sold like 400 plus in 2 days.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, whoa, now we have something else here. And so I started to, kind of push more t-shirts and stuff, and then I created Patriot Friday. And so every single Friday, I would create so I'm a metalhead.
Okay.
I love rock, and it's like 90s rock, right? So like Korn and like all the stuff that lots of people hate. Actually, a lot of people like it, to be honest. But anyway, I created these. Every Friday, I would use war movie clips, and then I would add rock to it and make it really like fun. And then I would say it's Patriot Friday, and then I would tell all of the people that would buy those Patriot tees to post. And so now you have families, and you have people in the service, and you have all kinds of people from every walk of life, every race, posting pictures wearing a green t-shirt that says Patriot across the chest. Huge. Yeah. I'm not saying, it wasn't small. It was like massive, like this, right?
Yeah.
And so this just continued to grow. And then all of a sudden, my following was like, hey, make a hat. So we made a hat, and we sold a few hundred of those. And it was make a beanie, make a hoodie. And soon enough, here we are, and we have these different products and this brand that's starting to form. And this is why I told the story about the guy that owned the cafe, though. I realized, and this is what has shaped this brand, something really, really important, and that was all of these people that were buying Patriot gear. It wasn't because of the word Patriot. It was because the community, my community that I had built, they were buying this gear because it symbolized everything that we had done prior to creating that t-shirt. It symbolized Joe's Cafe. It symbolized the pastry shop. It symbolized the families that we helped. It symbolized all the good that we did. That's what they were wearing across their chest or on their head. And the other thing I realized was during all this time, this was kind of during the Trump time, so a lot of my following was very conservative, right? And probably predominantly white. But that being said, not once when we were helping this guy in his cafe did any of those people ask, what color is he? What does he believe? Is he liberal? Is he Republican? Does he wear a mask? Does he believe in BLM? Whatever. Like, no one asked those questions. The only thing that mattered was the fact that a fellow American was losing everything he had built. He was losing his American dream. And everyone came to his rescue because that's just what you do as an American. And I realized that that's what a patriot is. A patriot this is our mission, right? I'm just going to say it. Patriotism is not partisan. No matter what the media, no matter what these politicians, no matter what the influencers, whatever they want to tell you, patriotism is not partisan. It's not exclusive, it's inclusive. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, green, blue, race, or atheist, Christian, liberal, Democrat, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you love this country and you love the people in it and you want it to be free and you want it to thrive and you're willing to defend it, like those people did for this guy in his cafe, that's defending the country. Then you're a patriot. And when I realized that we had something, because to go into marketing, right? Marketing is all about, or branding is all about creating something that's bigger than you and bigger than all the people that are part of it. It's something that transcends them, something that means more. And I realized that's what we had. And so, dude, I went all in on it. I felt literally called to leave my career and go all in on it. And it was the perfect time for a lot of different reasons. And so we jumped all in and we started to build this thing. And then we were on Etsy at the time. We got canceled off Etsy, go figure. Green hat, Patriot. They said it was harmful and dangerous and violent. And that was the best thing that possibly could have happened, though, because we literally created a Shopify account that night and we did like $20-something thousand in a few days. And that's when it really, really, really started to take off. And so, yeah, it kept on growing and growing and growing. And here we are a little over a year later, 45 countries, 15,000 orders, and it just keeps growing because this isn't just it's not just like a fun catchphrase. It's something that people actually believe, because right now is the time that we need to believe this the most and fight for true patriotism. And yeah, that's
on that note,
long-winded, but
yeah, no, I'm following you on all of it. It's the story behind the brand, and I think the one thing that I listened to you pull out from that is it was a brand that was built more from the people, in the sense of it wasn't like you set out and said, okay, I'm gonna go build this thing, I'm gonna go create this one thing over here, and I had this idea, this marketing concept. It wasn't any of that, right? It was literally built more or less what I would say from the people that were there.
Yeah.
And on that note, I want to take a pause just for a second, because I want to jump over to your answer for money is. Normally I do that at the end of the show. I was gonna do it super early on this one, but I'm gonna do it about halfway through, maybe, per se. And I want to jump into this because I want to tie it all back into what you got going on here.
Cool.
So this is your money is sign. This is probably one of the favorite ones that my team has ever built for me. Just because
looks awesome,
yours has like the American flag going through it.
Yeah.
My team builds all these for us. And so this is the money is answer, which is what does money mean to you? And maybe I could even ask this from hey, as a patriot, like what is it that money means from the patriot side, right? Like I want to be a patriot, but what does it mean from that side? So you answer it here, and then sign it right here, and then me and you will talk about what this answer means to you. I'll give you the Sharpie here. While he's doing that, guys, again, make sure you guys follow him on Instagram just to be able to understand and go deeper with patriotism and what being a patriot and how you can be a patriot right now. But also check it out his website at it's officialpatriotgear.com. Again, go check out his gear. And his gear is really sick. Like literally, he brought me this hat right here. I'm a hat sweatshirt junkie. Matter of fact, one of our mutual buddies, Jeremiah, has that brand Alpha, and I told him yesterday he has one of his sweatshirts that literally is like I love the look and feel of the sweatshirt he has. And when you brought this one in, I'm like, dude, I love this because I love it from the simplicity side of it. I love it that although it's Patriot, it's actually not red, white, and blue. Mm-hmm. It has the deep, what I call olive green color to it. But I love the overall brand.
I got a lot more for you. It's just
that you
it's
have
on its way.
So here it is with Ian. His answer is money is irrelevant if ... His answer is CEO of Official Patriot Gear. Money is irrelevant if. Okay, let's tie this all back into kind of your brand and what you have going on now. Yeah. Of no one's ever gave the answer. Money's irrelevant if, right? So you answer that first. What does that mean to you? Money's irrelevant if.
So when I was asked to kind of think, I thought really hard, really long about this. I wanted to say freedom, obviously, but Grant Cardone took that one.
Like 9 other people, so we actually just stopped saying it.
Yeah. And it was too easy. So the reason why I settled on irrelevant if is because nothing that we can buy and nothing that we can have right now matters at all if we don't have the ability to get it. If we don't have the freedom and the liberty that America affords us to be able to, quote unquote, chase the American dream and build a business of our own, or just do and say and be what we want to be. And that's what America's about. America is about the American dream. The American dream is being able to create something. Money is irrelevant if we don't have the ability to do that. If you can't build a business, you can't make money. And if we don't stand up, and if we don't fight for, and if we're not loud about the things that are attacking those freedoms and those liberties, well, money's not going to matter. I mean, literally they could flip a switch. Like I say it's irrelevant if because I think it's so important that everyone, especially business owners right now, realize that the more we allow the things to go on that are going on right now, that are just inch by inch taking away our freedoms and our liberties, the more we allow that to happen, the farther we get away from actually being able to build what all of us want to build and actually create what all of us want to create, which is the American dream. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's also what's built America.
It's literally
it's
the foundation of America. And right now, you can call me whatever you want. It's under attack. It is. And I think it's very plain to see by the majority of the people. It seems a lot of the time like the people that are loud and that are seeing this are the minority, but we are not the minority. We are actually the majority. It's just so many people are afraid to speak up because they don't feel like they have the backing. They don't feel like they are the majority. But you need to understand that you are, especially if you're in the business field. No one wants to be restricted from being able to create and build and grow as much as they want. No one wants a ceiling in the business world. I know you don't. I don't.
I hate ceilings.
Yeah, ceilings suck, right? Well, guess what? Right now, inch by inch, those ceilings are being created, whether you want to admit it or not.
When you say that, let's give some clarity to that. When you say inch by inch, they're being taken away, etc. What do you mean by that? Inch by inch being taken away. Give us examples.
I mean, dude, I keep on trying to censor myself. That's how scary this is, right? I can't say certain things on Instagram, so I'm trying to censor myself on here, and it's not. Anyway, we went from 15 days to slow the spread to now you literally cannot travel without proving that you got a experimental drug.
And we're 2 years in.
And we're 2 years
15 days.
15 days.
2 years.
2 years later. You cannot walk into a restaurant in certain places in this country without showing your papers. Where have we heard that before? I know people are like, oh, he's just one of those guys. Well, guess what? The reason why this is happening is because people are it's so easy for them to say, oh, that sounds crazy. I don't want to believe it. I always say this, Andrew. There's a line, and that line is really, really hard to cross for some people, because if you don't cross the line, you live in safety, you live in comfort. You know, you work closely with like Tim Ballard, people like that, right? They have crossed a very scary line that most people don't know exists. And if they did know it exists, how many people would be willing to cross it?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That line is what is preventing, people not being willing to cross that line is what's preventing us from actually being able to take control of everything that's happening right now. And that's why it's so easy for all these things to just happen over and over and over, and these inches that I keep saying to be taken. You know, it's to the point now where your kid is going to be forced to get this thing if you want them to go to school, or
They just passed in California.
5 to 12 years
K-5
old.
to 12
Yeah.
grade has to have vaccines to, and then I saw to go to school, and then I saw just 3 days ago, Mayor de Blasio out of New York said that they're working on a way where even 5-year-olds will have vax cards.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
a 5-year-old with a vax
Present
card
it to a restaurant, yeah.
of a 5-year-old.
I mean, dude, and think about this too. Like, people are literally losing their jobs right now. I'm talking here about the ability to create and build, and forget let's say you're not an entrepreneur. Let's just say that you're working class, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's definitely a place for that, right? They are losing their jobs and their livelihood and their ability to provide for their family simply because they're not doing something that the government is telling them to do. Historically, that's a pretty big red flag. But our country, a lot of the people in the country are so painfully ignorant to that right now, because it's, if we just do this, it'll be better. If we just do this, it'll go away. If we just do this, we can get through it. And then it's even scarier, because instead of it being, if we just do this, it'll go away and we can get through it, the media then says, well, yeah, that's what you think, but the real reason why you're not getting through it is because of those people. And now all of a sudden you have that divide, and you have that animosity, and you have that disgusting propaganda that's happening. All of these things are affecting your ability to build and create and do what you were meant to do as an American, period. So yeah, money doesn't matter. It's not going to matter if you can't build, if you can't create, and if you can't actually be in business.
Yeah.
If they control how much money you make, or they control what you're able to do, it doesn't matter. Period.
Well, you think about this, like, you know, you talk about divide and conquer.
Yeah.
And you think about, if you look back for just a second now, and you think about what was kind of released, I don't want to say first, but first in this, of the two things I'm going to talk about, was they kind of created this massive cancel mob culture, right? And it did exactly what it said it was going to do. Like, it literally took people's jobs away. Not just famous people that were, let's say famous, meaning that they were on news, and like Matt Lauer was one, Bill O'Reilly went down.
Yep.
There were a handful of other ones that they attacked, but also they did it on social media. There would be people that posted stuff on social media, and they would literally go to that person's job and just start blasting this person, because, and this guy would just work a normal job, but just had an opinion of ABC. And I'm not saying right or wrong, I'm not saying left or right, I'm just saying there was this mentality of cancel culture, and it's crazy because even now it got so bad that even now a guy that I don't enjoy his philosophy or opinions is Bill Maher, and even he's
starting
like,
to speak.
Dude,
Yeah, he's like, what's
you guys
going on?
have to stop this cancel concept. Now think about it. They create this like massive divide of cancel, and if you don't do what we, and it's like, well, who is we for a second?
Right?
Like, if we don't do what we agree, then we're going to go after and attack you. Okay, now, after that's established that they can bring you down, okay, then they release this, then they have this concept of the vaccine. And again, first of all, I'm not anti-vaccine. Like, I'm not an anti-vaccine person.
Neither am I.
But they create this concept that goes into it that creates this divide of basically choose a side.
Yeah.
Are you going to take the vaccine?
Yeah.
You're going to give it to your family, or you're not going to give it to your family? And then if you don't give it, you're going to be called a murderer.
A domestic terrorist.
A domestic terrorist, okay. And,
Labeled by the government.
Think about this. Like, now you have it where these athletes, these movie stars, their companies, corporations are terrified to come out against it in any form, of any way, because behind it stands the cancel mob that is going to obliterate you.
That's right.
Because you don't agree with what they want you to agree with. And it's kind of crazy because right now, kind of one of the two big people in the athletic world, finally, like two of them came out and they're getting blown up by everybody, which is Aaron Rodgers came out recently, as well as Kyrie Irving, I think it is, on basketball.
Yep.
And I mean, they basically just said, Kyrie Irving, you're not going to play anymore then. Like, we're not going to let you play.
Yeah, literally.
Which is, again, preventing you from doing your job, a contract that you actually have. Think about a contract they had, and in that contract, it doesn't say anything about
and it goes further than that.
Vaccine.
Do you also know that he has a separate locker than everybody. He also can't go to team events. That's called segregation.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody want to know history.
It's
how we
funny,
got rid of that.
It's funny how it's all going back to like this concept of even the Vax card is going into a form of segregation. But it's crazy if you look at the steps, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
First, they do the cancel
Inches.
mob, right? And they prove to you, we can shut you down and close you.
That's right.
No problem. We'll cut all your advertisers and you'll be done. Mm-hmm. And B, now choose a side, not left or right, but the side was vax or no vax, right? Yeah. And they created this divide and said, choose a side now.
Well, and the thing too is you talk about the woke mob, right? The we. The we and the woke mob is actually such a small percentage, but the media and the propaganda machines that are out there make it seem like that's the majority and that's the loudest voice. And we as a people continue to bow to those voices because we are afraid of we're afraid of the backlash. But the fact is, you actually have so much more support behind you, and far more people are against this stuff than they are for it. And I'm not talking about pro or anti. What I'm talking about is, like me, for example, I'm not anti-vaccine either. If you want to get one, cool, go get it. I don't care. But don't tell me or my family what we have to do or force us to do something in order to be able to live our lives the way that we want to. That's what it comes down to. It comes down to freedom of choice. And the other interesting thing about this whole thing is those loud, woke voices are not only making those corporations and those people afraid, they're silencing them, but they don't realize it. It's a form of silencing them. They're making it so that they can't speak. And then you have all the censorship on social media and things like that. And dude, trust me, I'm well versed with it. But it's just crazy to me because all of this is happening right under everybody's nose. And it continues to happen because we continue to let it happen. I'll give you a perfect example. Everybody wants to say, well, you know, if you go to LA, there's crazy people and liberals and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I went to LA about a month ago. Now, this was before the whole show your papers at restaurants and stuff. However, I observed while I was there, when I was in places where people had to wear a mask, and again, I'm not anti-mask, do what you want, I don't care, like, let's get that off the table. But the point is, when I was in places where people were forced to wear a mask, everybody's wearing a mask, right? But I was very observant of the places where you weren't forced to wear a mask and how many people weren't wearing a mask. And it was easily 80 to 90% versus 10 to 20. Easily. Because people don't want to do it. They're just doing it because they feel like they have to. Or they've been coerced by fear of believing that it's just like this never-ending cycle. And it's a really scary thing, man. And I think this is what it really comes back to is I saw this happening 2 years ago. And the reason why I got so loud is because I want my little boy to be able to live a life that he wants. I watched my dad build his American dream. Now I'm building mine. I want my little boy to be able to build his, or my little girl. And whether you want to admit it or not, the longer you stay silent, the longer you stay ignorant to this stuff, again, whether you want to admit it or not, it's happening. And all these things are happening slowly to the point where you don't notice it enough. But by the time it's done, it's going to be too late. And, you know, as extreme as that sounds or whatever, it's just like people have to realize what's going on in this country right now. And it is, every single one of us are here at this time, I believe, for a reason. And we need to stand up because, again, just going back, none of this matters. Wealth doesn't matter. None of it matters if we don't have the ability to live the life that we as Americans are granted because of the people that have gone before us and died and paid the ultimate sacrifice to make it so that we can live these lives.
Let me ask you this. If I'm sitting here as a listener, as a viewer right now, right? And in your message is striking, with me, and it's connecting with me, and I'm sitting here as a viewer, as a listener. What is it that I'm supposed to do? Like, I think a lot of it is people are confused as like, what do we do? We go stand out my mailbox and tell everybody that drives by?
No, that's a great question.
How does it work?
No, it's a great question. I think everybody, a lot of people have that question. So here's what I'll say. And it's what a lot of other people say. Find a hill and fight on it. So, you guys look at what I'm doing, and I'm building a clothing brand, right? The thing is, I'm not building a clothing brand. We have put the word patriot on tens of thousands of people in this country and in 45 other countries around the world. They are wearing the word patriot on their chest proudly. That's not a small thing. If you don't think that that's making a difference, I'm going to tell you all day that you're crazy, because it is. It's making a huge difference. So my hill started with a t-shirt. Now it's evolved into a message that I believe I'll be able to get out with. Thankful for people like you and other people who are helping me to get this message out, right? I've found my hill, and I'm going to fight on it. That's the bottom line. So what can everybody else do? Find your hill. What is it you're good at? How can you add value to this cause? What can you do to help people become aware of what's going on, or to just stand up and be loud about things and not comply? One thing I always say too is like, we exist in this social media world, and a lot of people are always like, well, you had a following and so you were able to speak up and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but guess what? I started at one follower just like you did. And I think, I've talked about this a couple times, I think something a lot of people underestimate when it comes to social media is what that audience actually is. So, for example, let's say you have 200 followers and you're thinking, I can't really make a difference. There's no way I can make a difference. Like, you have 70,000 followers, I have 200. What can I possibly do? Okay, well, let's say out of that 200 followers, you're getting 50 to 60 people viewing your story posts every day. Every single day, 50 to 60 people are viewing your story. Okay, I think a lot of people think in terms of those are just like digital people. Like, they're not actually paying attention to the fact that, have you ever put 50 or 60 people in a room in front of you on a stage? It's not a small thing. And so for you to say, I don't have a following and I can't speak up because only 50 people, that's 50 people that are intentionally coming to listen to you and watch you and learn from you. And even if you reach 2 of them, those 2 people will talk to someone else, and that person will talk to another person. And this is kind of what we were talking about, Andrew. It's like, I truly believe that, and it's always been this way, I believe it's always been a battle of good and evil. Evil is about power, money, control. And once you have all the power and the money in the world, there's only one thing that's left to level up, and that's control. That's the only thing that can possibly satisfy that desire to just continue to climb that ladder. And believe me when I tell you, those people that are evil, they want to climb the ladder. They're not going down, right? So you have good and evil. Well, evil's not to be, you can't bargain with evil, like, at all. So you have the good. In that good, there are people from every single walk of life. There are white collar, blue collar, black, white, Asian, freaking Baptist, whatever. Like, every single type of person is in that good. And so what can you do? Find the hill that will allow you to help more people become aware and also feel empowered to stand up and speak up and not be the minority anymore. And I think that comes down to, like I said, social media, speak. Just freaking turn your camera around and start talking into your phone and tell them how you feel and be authentic about it and say, we need to stand up. And if I can get 2 people in here to say they want to stand up with me, do it. If you're battling ridiculous school measures with your kids, go door to door, knock on doors, and find other parents that feel like you do and get them and get together, assemble, and go to these meetings and fight this stuff. The problem is the majority is so weak and silent and apathetic right now. Apathy is killing us. Apathy is allowing this country to go the way it is. And we need to stop being apathetic. We need to stand up, and no matter what the cost may be, because that cost, I promise you, is nothing compared to the cost you're going to pay if this continues to go the way it's going.
Yeah.
And if we continue to allow these people, who I do believe are evil, to really gain that control over us and put us in a place where we can no longer live the lives that so many have lived and fought and died for us to be able to live. And, you know, so yeah, I just think find your hill, fight on it, figure out what talents you've been blessed with and use them to help this fight. And I'm not telling you have to quit your job. I'm not telling you have to, you know, upheave everything, but just get involved.
Well, it's just a question because I think I want to make sure we get this point across, because I think it's a big point to the viewers when you talk about what you're referring to as patriot or patriotism.
Yeah.
Sometimes, especially right now, I think it's because of how, again, and go back to how media portrays it on both sides, but how when you say the word patriot now, it almost comes across like the word patriot means hardcore, right-wing, hyper-conservative, even to parts of media even almost put the word patriotism into like racism and even worse.
No, not almost, it is.
Things, right?
Yeah.
And it's become a trigger word for people that they have to have therapy over if they hear the word patriot. And from your perspective, I think you're taking a totally different approach from it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, your word of patriot or patriotism isn't necessarily going on that side. Define what you mean by patriot, because I think you're going about it a very unique way.
I mean, just think about this. Okay, there are people, there are individuals in the service right now that are fighting for your freedoms. They just got back from Afghanistan. Those Marines that died, right?
There's 13 Marines.
Yeah, 13 Marines that died. What makes you think, I mean, sure, maybe they were, but what makes you think you know that all 13 of them had the exact same ideologies? Right. That they were exactly this, that they were all Republicans? Or that, like, no, you have no way of knowing that. And I can promise you that not everyone in the military is, to be honest with you, I'm going to say it. The far right wing has hijacked the word patriot. And they've made it seem like it's exclusive. And it's not. It's not at all. People that, you may not agree with everything someone says, but if at the end of the day they want this country to be free and they want it to be in the best place it can be and they're willing to defend that, they're a patriot. Yeah. I don't care what side of the aisle they're on. And so patriotism to me, again, it's not partisan and it's not exclusive. And you know, it even goes with this whole idea of like America only, right? That statement, America only, dude, you say that and immediately someone says you're a nationalist, right? Or you're a racist or a white supremacist. Again, it's been hijacked. America first doesn't mean America only. The difference between patriotism and nationalism is that nationalism is exclusive, right? That's what created the freaking Holocaust. Like that, it was somebody believing they were superior to everyone else and no one else mattered. That's not patriotism. If your family is drowning in the water, along with a lot of other people, you're gonna dive in and save your family first. But there's nothing wrong with once they're at shore diving in and trying to save other people. That's what America first is. Take care of us first. Make sure we're in the best place we can be because, you know, going into self-development or whatever, we all know this. You can't do anything if you're not your best version, right? You can't be the best father or the best husband or the best business owner if you yourself are not together, right? It's the exact same thing. Our country can't hope to be a help to anyone else unless we are in our best place possible. So patriotism is preserving that. It's loving the country, loving the people in it, wanting it to be free and thrive and be in a place that, you know, that we can thrive and being willing to defend that. That to me is a patriot. And so I promise you, no matter who it is that you know, as long as they're not like wanting freaking communism and like, you know what I mean? Like there's a very fine line, but again, most people at their core love this country or love their country. That's another thing too, is patriotism is an American thing. Yeah, there's a lot. We're in 45 countries, right? Let
me ask you this, because I thought that this is a unique approach that you took, and I want to know why, and maybe we'll wrap the show up on this one. At your brand, Official Patriot Gear, you and your wife made a conscious, thought-through decision to not go print, build the FJB brand, and the Let's Go Brandon T-shirts and so forth, right, for the merch.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, if I lay this out for the viewers, if you go do that with your base that are a mix of base, but the base in general, a ton of them are going to go buy it.
Oh, dude, we
Gifts, Christmas.
No joke. We probably would have doubled our revenue for the last 6 months.
Yeah, if you just go print this one thing on the shirt. And you guys chose not to go down the path of printing hashtag FJB and Let's Go Brandon, etc.
Yeah.
I sincerely want to know why, and I want to play a little bit of I want to call it devil's advocate sometimes.
Sure.
On the show, I like to play devil's advocate sometimes, because like, when I think of Patriot Go, what we just talked about there, like I then think about Joe Biden, and I think about like all the crap that I feel like as a patriot that should not be being done right now. Mm-hmm. That's costing America some serious consequences. And I'm not saying it's just Joe Biden, don't get me wrong. I'm saying a lot is politics in general.
For sure.
But right now I'm just talking about in this one example. And I do not like what he's doing with America. I do not like the road that he's going down. I do not like the path that he's going down, where he's taking us. I'm against a lot of what's happening that's going on. But then you on purposely chose not to go down that path of doing it. Why?
So, first of all, I didn't say this at all during the show, but I don't consider myself far right, far left. I definitely lean right though. Like, obviously, I'm very pro 2A. I'm, Christian. I have a lot of the same beliefs. I definitely align more with the right. But that being said, I also, at the end of the day, I agree. I agree 100%. I think Biden's a freaking disaster. I think he's probably the worst thing that's ever happened to this country. And even though I 100% support that statement, mm-hmm. Let's go Brandon, and I'll say it as a joke or whatever, it's counterproductive based on what I know will actually bring this country back. And that is, we don't need any more divide. Mm-hmm. We need unity. And as Mickey Mouse as that sounds to you or whatever, I don't care, because that is literally what we need. There's a reason why it's united we stand and divided we fall. And so, to me, these people, Biden, the freaking crusty politicians that have been in there for years that are just sucking people dry and care nothing about them but only about money, they're not working for we the people. And that to me is not a patriot. So none of those people are patriots to me. Mm. Those people are the ones that are attacking this country and attacking what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be we the people, and the government is supposed to work for us, for we the people, right? Mm-hmm. So why didn't I do it though? Because I think it's counterproductive, and I don't want this brand to be a symbol of divide. I want it because I don't want this brand to just be a clothing brand. Mm-hmm. I envision this eventually being something much, much bigger. I hope one day that this will be, I still don't even know. I mean, it just kind of evolves, but an organization that people can look to as a reminder of what true patriotism really is. Whatever that is, whatever that ends up being that we're involved in, whether that's, whatever. I don't want it to be this clothing brand like all these other ones that's just chasing trends that are catchy mm-hmm. and that are polarizing. That's not what official Patriot Gear is about. Official Patriot Gear is about reminding people that there's good on both sides, and there's good in every race, and there's good in every religion, and it's all about figuring out how we can come together despite our differences, right? Mm-hmm. As crazy as that sounds. But it's what this country was founded on. We were talking about this. It's another thing a lot of people forget. This country was founded on compromise. It was founded on the ability to come together and say, we don't agree on hardly anything, but what we do agree on is the fact that we don't want to be ruled by these people. We want to be free to be able to build and create and chase our American dream and be who we want to be ultimately. Mm. And I think more people believe that than less. And so my mission is to find those people. And the mission of Official Patriot Gear is to find those people and bring them together. And FJB and Let's Go Brandon and all this other stuff that, quite frankly, a lot of the far right pushes, it's not helping. It's just creating more divide. Mm-hmm. And that's not what we need right now.
Yeah, as you're walking through it and talking about it, like I bought a hashtag FJB hat, and it's unique because sometimes when I'm at a restaurant or shopping, whatever it may be, out in public, right, and I see someone wearing something like that, Let's Go Brandon, or I'm gonna send this topic right now, Let's Go Brandon or FJB, it's like I immediately identify with a philosophy, a belief system of what that person is wearing.
It's identity politics.
And saying, right?
Yeah.
And I'm immediately identifying with them. And then it's funny because when I would go wear the hat some places, I could literally, like, you could like feel it. Like there were more people that were like, I'm almost use the word like friendly to me. It was like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah.
And if I wore my other hat, they wouldn't have said anything to me, but I wore that one. It was more like I would get waves and nods from people as to identify. And on the same hand, wearing that hat, which I have worn, I know when I walk in a restaurant, sometimes I am pissing someone off. Like I'm infuriating them.
Yes.
As they sit at the table, like I am burning a hole in them, and they hate everything it stands for. And so I understand the concept of the divisiveness. Uniquely enough, where we have pushed it, and this is where I think you're trying to crawl and scrape it back.
That's exactly the way to describe it, dude.
The word patriot is the same thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that way.
I'll tell you right now, when I step on an airplane with Patriot hat on, I unless the stewardess is like chill, I immediately am a freaking magnet. They are standing by my seat the entire time, and they just, like, dude, I've been kicked off the plane for wearing Patriot.
Wow.
So, and many of my followers have been. And that is what's so scary, because again, this is not a divisive word. It never should be. It's a honorable and meaningful.
It's like the American flag. The American flag should not be a divisive thing.
No.
And the American flag in our country has become kind of a divisive thing.
Which is funny, because that's another thing that's manufactured. Dude, when countries are struggling the most, these socialist countries and all these countries that are having the craziest stuff happen, right? What flag do you see flying in the streets? It's the American flag. Why? Because it's a symbol of the last truly free country. That's the scary thing. And patriotism, I'll just say this. We talked a little bit about 9/11, right? I believe that there's a couple things, but one of the main things that I believe can actually unite us as an American people is the true sense of patriotism. We saw it happen after 9/11. Nothing mattered except for being there for your fellow American. Nothing mattered.
Bars were, churches were, restaurants were. It was irrelevant to everybody.
I made a hoodie that we dropped on 9/11. I designed it and everything. I design all this stuff, but I designed this one really specially because it's kind of something special to me, because I'm from New York and I experienced it. And it said, instead of united we stand, on the front it said united we stood. Because literally, we stood united.
Yeah.
And I promise you that if we can get back to feeling that true sense of patriotism, whether that means we need to go through something crazy again or whatever, that is what can actually unite us. And I'll say this, to play devil's advocate, the Let's Go Brandon and F Joe Biden stuff, I will say that I think Biden has actually probably united a lot of this country more than most presidents have, simply because he's a common enemy, because everybody can see the garbage that's going on. But that's fleeting.
Yeah.
That's not something that can last.
Yeah.
True patriotism, the true sense of patriotism can last because it's individual, and it's meaningful for every single person because it means what they are able to actually obtain here in this country as an American. And so that's why I think it's got more longevity, and that's why I think it's just more meaningful when it comes to the actual brand, rather than just kind of,
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the reasons I love it, is because you're actually trying to do something. I'm going to say this, but I don't want to come the wrong way, but there's certain brands that hit trends, and they're the owners of the brands are literally just there to actually make money.
That's it.
That's the only reason they're actually doing it, right? And I don't say the only reason, but that is the main driving force of why they're doing it, is to print ABC products and ship them and sell them. And what's funny is a lot of times it's not even a diehard conservative doing it. It's actually an international person that doesn't live in America that's like, oh, okay, they'll buy this now. Here, I'll go print whatever you want me to print. I'm just here to make money.
Yep.
Nothing to do with actual patriotism. I think the thing that I respect so much about you and your wife Maddie's brand is that patriot should be a very, very sacred word, a very sacred word that all Americans, top to bottom, left to right, should hold and respect and love, and it should be something that's in a personal side of their livelihood, is the word patriot and patriotism. And it can mean different things to different people, but there should be a common ground of American patriotism. And I love what you guys are doing, because you're not going down the trends, you're not going down, and you're actually trying to bring back the word patriot to more of the, what I'll call the middle, where it's a word that, it's a boat, it's a ship that both sides can stand on, and should be able to agree upon the word patriotism.
Well, and dude, I mean, think about this. Today's Veterans Day. You'd be surprised at how many people don't even know that, right?
I didn't.
And the media doesn't talk about it. And dude, I mean, not to get super long-winded or anything, but like the people that we're supposed to celebrate today, I mean, I'll be honest, man, I don't want to have to do what they did.
Oh,
like,
no way.
I don't ever want to have to jump out of a freaking, like, dude, it's just, that's not what we want to have to do. Like, those people paid the ultimate sacrifice and went through some of the most horrific things and literally died so that we could be here right now. You could be building what you're building. I could be building what I'm building. And none of that matters if we allow that to go to waste, and if we allow that to be forgotten, and if we allow the attack to continue. That's why money is irrelevant if we don't stand up, because it's just, that's it, man.
I love it. I love it, man. I think you got an incredible thing going, and again, I fully support you, and I hope many others will jump on and follow you and check out your gear at officialpatriotgear.com. Again, I respect what you're doing, because the authentic side of it, of not going down trends and trying to actually pull back the word patriot to a ship that we can all stand on, left, right, top, bottom. We should all be able to stand on that word, and we should all have it. So I absolutely love having this show, Ian.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I love what
awesome.
you stand for, man. Super, super proud of just knowing you, man.
Thank you.
For you guys watching the show, I hope you guys enjoyed the show of The Money Is Show. We'll see you next week. This is Ian Wendt. We'll see you next week on The Money Is Show.